you have more time for this roundtable. It's my pleasure to present you Dr. Elsa Mota. Dr. Elsa Mota from the Directorate-General of Health, we call it DGS, what has several interpretations in this country, and the President for the Commission for the Equality of Gender, Dr. Teresa Fragoso.
Not a doctor.
Huh?
I'm not a doctor, though.
Well, Mrs. Teresa Fragoso.
Being a feminist, I would rather to be called Ms.
Miss Teresa Fragoso.
MS.
Oh,
This is
MS.
a specificity in English. Not Miss, single, not Mrs., married, Ms. Independent woman. No marital status involved in the definition of my identity. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Ms.
So,
MS, Ms.
Ms. Yeah. So we are going to start, and I'll give the floor to.
Good afternoon to everybody. I'm here representing the Directorate-General of Health, as was said before. I'm a psychologist, so I don't know if I'm a doctor, a Ms. or but it's interesting, this beginning, because I, as Ms. Teresa said, I learned this now, that the Ms word, so these encounters are very good to be learning. We are always learning, so it's good to be here and to be able to think and present what we in Portugal in the health sector are trying to do and have been doing. I don't mean to mislead you, but I brought a presentation. Only the first slide is in English. All the others are in Portuguese. I didn't know it was to bring it in English, but I will try to be translating, okay? And I will ask for help if I need, okay? And so I belong to the division of sexual and reproductive and youth and juvenile health. So we get a lot of themes to work, and the female genital mutilation is one of them as a sexual and reproductive issue. So, as it has been said before during these 2 days, there is an intersectoral sectorial group that works this the FGM issue, and the health ministry has been on it since 2007. And has integrated all the other national programs that followed. And we are now in the third national program, just almost finishing. And the health sector has been, what we have been doing, it follows these 4 steps. That is, the awareness to know how to seek, to give knowledge, how to act confronting a situation, and to give specific training for the health professionals and knowledge. So this, I forget, I have this. This awareness to seek, it means that the training of the professionals is crucial, and it should be an ongoing process. And it should be an ongoing process, not only as professional health professionals, but until it is incorporated in the school curriculums. And it is also it means that even during physical examination, some excisions and some genital mutilations can be missed because health professionals are not sensitized, are not aware that it exists. And in Portugal, a lot of professionals are not aware that it is possible to find and to be confronted to a woman that has been cut. So it is like I was hearing this morning in Sierra Leone that it's almost not the opposite, but in Sierra Leone it's almost they see so many that it's hard to see that it's so close, so it's hard to see the complications. And here we're not into the complications yet, or in some cases, of course, but still some professionals are still learning that it exists. So if you don't know, if you don't seek for it, you will never find it. And all this awareness to seek, it will also contribute to register the cases that are found. And so the other part is to give knowledge and how to react when confronted to the situation. So the Directorate-General of Health in 2012 elaborated an orientation. The Directorate-General of Health is the institution in Portugal that elaborates the clinical guidelines and the clinical orientations to the health professionals. And so a group of expertise elaborated this orientation, and this orientation is for the health professionals, and it has it says what is the female genital mutilation and how to act, and how is the law. And that is one thing that is not up to date. We have to renew it because it's an old. The law changed and it didn't change here. So and so it also describes all the complications, the physical complications, the psychological complications, and it also states how a health professional has to act when it's confronted to a situation. And this specifically is for when a child is in risk, or to prevent new situations. Also, in the National Health Children and Health Program, there is information about the female genital mutilation. So what I mean to say is that in all the materials that have been, not all, but several materials that have been done after the orientation, all have included the theme of female genital mutilation. This is about interpersonal violence, and it is inserted in an action of health about gender violence and life cycle. And also in this national program for the pregnancy surveillance, national health pregnancy for the low-risk pregnancy surveillance, there is a chapter about the female genital mutilation, because we think that it's on those, it's a period of time where women go often to the consultations, and it's a very important period to seek to talk to women about these issues. Well, we've also tried to be training, the specific training for health professionals, and this specific training has been done. Well, there has been a postgraduate training course that is protocol. Protocol with yes. Partition agreement with the Directorate-General of Health, the Family Planning Association, the SIG, how do you translate SIG? Commission for Gender Equality, and the two superior health schools for nurses. And that postgraduate training has been done in the Lisbon area. Two of them happened in Lisbon, and two in Setúbal, which is a region a little south of Lisbon. And in that area, because in the first studies we learned that in around Lisbon would be where people from countries involved would be more concentrated, so that's why it happened in these regions. But also when we talk about those programs that I showed before, the health for children and the program for children and youth, and also the pregnancy surveillance or the other, the violence and the life cycle, we also talk about female genital mutilation, and we have also been doing training in other contexts, like for the justice system. And so this working group has been operating this way, that we can take our knowledge, the health knowledge, to other professionals, and we've also, and the other professionals came to the postgraduate to train the health professionals also in the other areas of knowledge. And to know the situation, it was not I, but a colleague, the head of the division at the time, cooperated in this study, and also on this national study. You probably heard this before. During these 2 days. And since 2012, it is possible in Portugal to register the situations that are found in this health data platform. And this health data platform is for the national health system, and it is for all situations, but it has a separate part for the female genital mutilation. It has the information that has some information, basic information, and it's basic because when we were working, we thought it's better to have basic information than trying to have a big questionnaire and then no one would fill it. Even this basic questionnaire, it's not filled all the times, but now we have in March, we had 196 cases registered. In the end of, not in the middle of 2016, we've done a paper about the first 99 cases that were acknowledged, and it was, and we think it's important so the professionals know that their work is going to have some consequence. And it is also possible to register the cases in the other platforms, on the national health programs or child and youth. Okay, this is the health data platform. So as you can see, there are only 6 questions. And while professionals are filling the questionnaire, they can follow, and there are some information that is also important to, so they can follow as an interview guide. So this is the paper I told you about. And all this information is available in the national program of reproductive health page. This is a page of a sub-page of the Directorate-General of Health, and there's one part that is about the female genital mutilation, where we have not only our information but from the other sectors as well. So we can then discuss a lot about the health professionals and the health situation in Portugal concerning this theme. I think there are a lot of things that still can be done, and I think there are, since 2012 until now, a lot of changes happened in the national health system in Portugal, especially concerning the primary care services, and maybe concerning these matters and other matters, I think professionals need to think that they are part of a community, and sometimes it doesn't happen that way, and other things that we can also discuss, but the network and working together as a multidisciplinary approach is essential, and we tend to work very separately, not in different sectors, but even in the health sector we work, hospitals and primary care, and then even among hospitals, within hospitals, I mean, and even those postgraduate training. There are some people that made the first edition, and some people made the second edition, and they belong to the same hospital, and still they don't know what each other are doing. So that is communication is very, very important among the professionals, and of course communication from professionals to to women. And yes, it is very important to listen, and to real listen and have time. And professionals should have time to be on an interview with a woman, the time that is required on these situations. So thank you for your attention, and we'll discuss afterwards, I think.
So now I'll give the floor to Ms. Teresa Fragoso, and we'll have a general debate at the end.
Sendo que eu não tenho a apresentação, podem ligar a luz.
Sim.
Por acaso, este microfone funciona, o da mesa? Então eu prefiro não ter na mão, para poder, na mão livre. Obrigada.
Já está a funcionar.
Tá. Okay. Is it okay? Everybody can hear me? Okay. In fact, I'm accused of speaking too loud, so maybe it's better if the microphone is a bit far. So, hello, good afternoon. I hope you're having a good conference. I wasn't able to be here in the morning, but I'm the head of the Commission for Citizenship and Gender Equality, which is the governmental body in charge of the promotion of gender equality and the prevention and the combat, the fight against all forms of violence against women. And Vitor Almeida, who's the person under this commission who has been coordinating our national program to fight female genital mutilation, has been accompanying the 2 days conference. So although I wasn't able to be here in person, I know everything's going on. So talking a bit more about this commission, it's our 40th anniversary this year. We were institutionalized, I don't know if you can say this in English, but like officialized as a governmental body in 77. As probably most of you know, in 74 we had a revolution, so we became a democracy. But even before the revolution, since 1970, there was this visionary woman. She was an engineer, Maria de Lourdes Pinto-Silva. She was one of the front runners for the promotion of gender equality in Portugal, and she was involved in politics from an early stage, also an early stage after the April Revolution. But even before that, I was saying since the 70s, she was in charge of this working group, let's call it a working group, that was already thinking of how to implement gender equality policies, public policies to ensure women's rights. And so, of course, after 74, this became easier, if we could call it like that. It's never easy. But, of course, we were undergoing a democratic process, and everybody was open to equality, to these principles. And so that's why 3 years after the revolution, we became an official governmental body with this mission. Right now, and for the past 10 years, parallel to gender equality and prevention and elimination of violence against women, we have also incorporated public policies to promote, to fight LGBTI discrimination and to promote equality also at this level. So this is pretty much our mission. And for the past 20 years, so we're 40 years this year, but for the past 20 years, we have been orienting our action based on national action plans. So in the past, we had our organic law, we had our priorities through the organic law, and of course, we're always under a minister or a secretary of state who provides guidance and the priorities. But for the past 20 years, it has been a more organized and articulated process, meaning that it has become clear that the promotion of gender equality is a state obligation, not just for this commission. It's an obligation of the state as a whole. Of course, we ratified the CEDAW, the Convention against all forms of to eliminate all forms of discrimination against women in 80, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry. 80 or 81, I think it was 80. And more recently, we were the first country in Europe to ratify the Istanbul Convention, the Council of Europe Convention to eliminate all forms of violence against women. So, because these conventions are now part of our juridical system, it is clear for the state that this is an overall responsibility of the state. So these plans I was mentioning have been a very important tool to help the various ministries in charge of the various areas, for instance, the Ministry of Home Affairs when it comes to security and law enforcement and security measures, the Ministry of Justice when it comes, of course, to ensuring that justice is pursued, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Employment, Ministry of Social Security. All ministries, in a way, are part of the building of these plans and part of the implementation of these plans. So for the past 20 years, we have been developing these plans, and this commission is the coordinator of these plans, but it's understood as a transversal, or it's mainstreamed throughout governmental bodies. Of course, not all ministries understand exactly how this is done. Even inside the Commission, we have a big expertise, but throughout 40 years, people have gone, people have come in, so sometimes we lose expertise. We have to build more. We bring ourselves to this conference, to these events, to learn from others' experiences. We provide opportunities for people inside the Commission to learn more through academic studies, academic opportunities. So this is an ongoing process, and I'm saying all this because I believe we have a good system in place, this development of these plans, working in tandem with the other ministries, but of course there's always a road to be, a path to be done, I don't know, to walk, a path to walk. Something important regarding female genital mutilation, it's that it has come up, maybe before that I want to say something. These plans, we don't work with the ministries alone. We also involved in the design of these plans NGOs and local municipalities. Because some ministries have decentralized services, but this commission is a small body based in Lisbon with a small delegation in Porto. So our way to make sure that these policies cover all the territory, the national territory, including the islands, Azores and Madeira, is by working closely with the local municipalities. So in the past 10 years, this strategy of working with the local municipalities has been strengthened. And the strategy with the NGOs is something that is at the core of our work, because in '77, when we were officially institutionalized, it was decided that a consultative council encompassing all NGOs working on women's rights and gender equality, at the time it was called women's rights, should be included at this consultative council. That was a mandatory body within the organic law of this official body, this governmental body. So working with the NGOs is something that is at the very nature of our organization, of this commission, and we have since been working involving other partners. So I was mentioning ministries, local municipalities, NGOs, but also the academia, of course, and other movements which are not sometimes specifically NGOs, but that represent interests in civil society. For instance, more recently, and when it comes to employment, you have many professional groups, like there's this network, Professional Women's Network, and they promote equal opportunities for women in employment, and namely when it comes to decision-making in companies, private or state-owned. So we have this concern of involving the various actors and the various interested parts, the stakeholders, in our work. More recently, I was going to say, female genital mutilation became a topic, an important topic on the political agenda. It was very invisible. 20 years ago when we started to develop these programs, we focused on gender equality and violence, domestic violence, it was called, or violence against women. But we were not aware of the phenomenon of female genital mutilation, especially when it came to the Portuguese borders. This was something, it was not on the political agenda. So in the second half of the 2000, the first decade of 2000, so starting 2005, 2006, it started to become a topic on the agenda and very much brought onto the agenda by the NGOs working on this topic. And they were very vocal when it came to bringing the topic on Parliament and bringing it to the member of governments responsible for gender equality. And so in 2008, if I'm not mistaken, it was decided that it was the moment to develop a national program of action to focus on this particular topic. Again, this program was developed involving ministerial representatives, NGOs, the academia, and relevant stakeholders that had a part on designing and implementing policies to fight female genital mutilation. So right now, in 2017, we are finishing these programs of action. Usually they have the same time period as the national action plans. The program of action to fight female genital mutilation is under the national program to fight domestic violence and gender-based violence, because these national action plans are resolutions of the Council of Ministers, so they have sort of the force of a law, because they were approved by the Council of Ministers. So this particular program focusing on MGF is inside the overall national plan to fight domestic violence and gender-based violence. So right now these plans are finishing. They have 3 to 4 year periods of implementation. And now we are at the process of generating new plans for the future. I'll come back to this, the planning of the new plans. Sorry for the I'll come back to this, but I wanted to first also mention the fact that I mentioned it briefly earlier, that in 2013 we were the first country in Europe, within the Council of Europe, to ratify the Istanbul Convention, the Convention to eliminate violence against women. And this had an immediate impact on our law, on our penal code, because as we were including all these guidelines, all these, not guidelines, all these, can someone help me? It's not a recommendation, it's not a guideline, it's something that once we ratify a convention, it's all these obligations. Okay, as we were trying to ensure that in our laws, all these obligations that the Istanbul Convention mandated our states to implement were clearly stated in our laws, it was decided to typify in the penal code, to specify in the penal code, female genital mutilation as a crime. So it is not under grave offenses or serious crimes, serious offenses. It has a specific type under the penal code since 2015. So this is something that we made sure. And at the same time that it became a crime, it is also considered a crime, and this was also considered even before the Istanbul Convention. If it's done outside our borders, once the perpetrators are back into Portugal's borders, they can be prosecuted, thank you. They can be still prosecuted. So even if it's done outside our borders, this is what the penal codes say. Once they're coming back in, and this has happened, and a child has been mutilated, there are consequences under the Portuguese law. But of course, this is important, this is relevant. This is how we say that this is not acceptable. But of course, we know that this phenomenon happens within the families, and that most of the times, the families do it because they perceive it as a protection, as a form of integration of these girls. Because if they don't go through these rituals or whatever they want to call it, they might become outcasts within what is expected of these families and of these communities to behave. So families do this because they believe this is the best. They don't understand that this is harmful for their girls. So, of course, we don't want just to criminalize and penalize these families. We want to work with them. We want to educate them. We want to raise their awareness. And for that, this program of action has also had an important role, because the program of action is composed of a working group. And again, this working group includes ministerial representatives from ministries such as health, home affairs, the Service for Borders and Security is involved, Camões, which is the Cooperation and Foreign Affairs governmental body, the High Commissioner for Migrants and Minorities. So relevant bodies in public administration, central public administration, are part of this working group and help us design policies and implement, working together with these communities. And of course, as I said before, we have NGOs and more recently organizations that come from the communities in Portugal where the practice can happen, there's a risk that happen. Communities that have mostly migrant communities within the community coming from countries where the practice takes place. So we have now involved, apart from the regular NGOs that worked on human rights and worked on eliminating female genital mutilation, we have now more recently involved representatives from NGOs and organizations in these communities where the practices might be at risk of happening. So this is very important to understand, to speak, and to, more than the state speaking with the communities, have the communities themselves voice their concerns, voice their needs, and ask to the governmental responsibles what they want, what they need. So this has been very important. And I don't believe they're formally part of the working group, but we have also been developing a lot of work with local municipalities. They're not part of the working group, right? Thank you. But they're very important, especially the municipalities in these that overview the areas where such communities reside. So municipalities like Odivelas or Amadora or Sintra, exactly. So there's some areas of the Portuguese territory where the practice is at risk of happening. So these are areas where we develop further links with the local municipalities. So we believe that with this collaborative and sort of networking, we more and more try to provide the responses needed in the territory. And the Commission itself, the Commission for Citizenship and Gender Equality, has also established an award, but it's a money award that some NGOs can apply by presenting projects mostly to be developed within the communities where FGM might happen. And so the best projects will be entitled to the prize. And usually this happens every 2 years, and we have 3 prizes, money, and so 15, usually 15,000 is the first prize, 10,000 is the second prize, and 5,000 euros is the third prize. So this enables these organizations, builds their capacity to do their work, their awareness-raising work in the community, but also gives them some extra money to build their own materials, hire trainers if needed, involve the community in several initiatives. So depending on the design of their projects, this money is to help them to build their capacity and to help their initiatives in their communities, in the territories where FGM might be at risk of happening. So Elsa already mentioned, where's Elsa? Of course, a part of this group, we have the Directorate-General for Health, and there's, of course, an important component of health. I'm not going to repeat what Elsa already said, but of course, what I would like to underline is the importance of, on one hand, having this platform where data is collected, because we need information, although we respect anonymity, of course, but we need to understand the reality in order to adapt public policy's response to the reality. If we have no knowledge, it is hard to act. So this database is very important from a public policy perspective to collect information, to gain knowledge about what's going on. And of course, all the guidelines on health issues, training of health professionals, the post-graduation, and this cooperation protocol that was already referred to. This is very important. These people attending these trainings post-graduation, they can be multipliers. They come from different communities, from different areas, and they can then understand what the state is doing, what local municipalities are doing, what the reality is, what the communities, the NGOs are doing, and they can therefore also be agents in the field now that they gain this new knowledge. So this for us is very important. But we also work on the preventive side in terms of law enforcement. We know that the judiciary police forces also have procedural guidelines on how to, if we identify these type of situations from a judiciary perspective, how can professionals act? The same with the Commission of the Protection of Young People. They also have a guideline. If something is identified, how should we proceed? And their protocols of action that are being improved on if a different stakeholder identifies a particular case, what should be the procedure, whom these stakeholders should contact, so that we do not allow a case that is identified to fall through the grid. So we want to make sure that every situation is well taken care of under the current law and other protection measures in place. So this for us is very important, and I here again underline that we work on law enforcement. We have the penal code criminalizing this practice. We work on awareness raising. We work with professionals, with the stakeholders, and with the communities. We work with the communities. We hear the communities. And so we work, of course, on the prevention. And I bring this leaflet because I believe 2 years ago, a study was undertaken. I don't know if you say this in English, a prevalence study. We wanted to estimate the reality. And the study came up with several recommendations, and something important that it was identified through this study was that these girls were at a higher risk when it came to school breaks, Easter breaks and summer breaks, because the families living in Portugal would take these breaks and would go back to the countries where the practice is still ongoing. And so even though maybe here they would not be at risk, even though they come from communities of countries where the practice happens, in Portugal they would not be at such a high risk, but when going back to the countries, the risk would be higher. So understanding this reality, in the past year, this campaign was launched under the support of the Secretary of State for Citizenship and Gender Equality. And it's called The Right to Live Without Female Genital Mutilation. We see the face of a little girl, and it is a human rights bill or chart. Is what is the picture is also making sure that human rights are complied with. And the leaflet is done in 3 languages, Portuguese, English, and French, because we targeted at airports, national airports or international airports in Portugal, where the flights to countries where the practice happens would depart. And so we were distributing these leaflets to make sure that everybody going to these countries, and in particular the families taking their girls on holidays to these countries, would be particularly aware that their girls were at risk. And so this campaign was done with the support of many NGOs working in Portugal to fight female genital mutilation, with the various governmental bodies part of the program of action. And it also conveys relevant information, and I believe there are, yes, contact information. In the final page there are phone numbers, email addresses, or websites of the main governmental bodies that have relevant information or that can provide some support in case of need. So this is part of other actions that we do to raise awareness, but this particular campaign, we have done other campaigns in the past. We have promoted information in hospitals, with the communities, but this campaign in particular was a direct result of this prevalence study, the direct result of this recommendation that told us be careful when it comes to school breaks, summer breaks, and Easter breaks. So again, studies are important, understanding the reality, having the knowledge is important to better design and implement public policies that really respond to the needs identified in the field. And I'm not going to talk much more, but I said before, I just wanted to say another thing. When it comes to the work we do, of course, we work within our borders, but there's also a component of cooperation. And of course, we have been working very much in cooperation with Guinea-Bissau. And we have here today, she's talking, but Fatoumata Diabalde, who actually, this campaign was launched simultaneously in Guinea-Bissau with the support of the, tell me please, the committee against, National Committee Against Harmful Practices in Guinea-Bissau. There were also some T-shirts that we were using at the airports, and that they, at the same time in Guinea-Bissau, this campaign was launched, so that it had impact at both ends, because many families were leaving on holidays from Lisbon to Bissau, so this was an important joint cooperation. And other cooperation projects take place. We work closely, as I said before, with Camões, which is the national body in charge of all cooperation policies. But there's one particular project that is undergoing under with the support of the Secretary of State for Citizenship and Gender Equality. Elise Fragoso maybe can tell us a bit more about this project, because PID Factor, the NGO she represents, is in charge of the implementation, or partly in charge of the implementation of this project. So I'm sure you can explain it better than me, but this is something we are already also concerned with, the cooperation aspects, to work with the various relevant actors and always in cooperation. And on a final note regarding cooperation, in March this year, there's always in March, around the 8th of March, International Women's Day, there's always the Commission on the Status of Women in New York, organized by the UN. And this year, Portugal took the lead in organizing a high-level side event on addressing female genital mutilation in the world. We had several governments joining us on this high-level side event. The governments of, was it Norway? Well, several governments in Europe, but also, of course, Fatoumata, and this is why I also wanted to mention, was also there with us as a guest speaker. We had the National Goodwill Ambassador for UNFPA, Catarina Furtado, also there with us, leading a panel of experts. And we had representatives from UNFPA, UNICEF, so major UN agencies that fight in the field to prevent and to eliminate female genital mutilation. So this was an important international event that we took the lead, and we want the world to be involved, but we also want the world to know that for us, this is a human rights aspect that involves everybody. So even if in a particular country there isn't significant prevalence, we should all be involved, because as the Convention of Istanbul says, female genital mutilation is one of the most extreme expressions of violence, gender-based violence, violence against women. And so even if one case exists in the world, we should continue to be vocal. And just to finish, to wrap up, I want to just make a note on the follow-up of these national action plans I mentioned at the beginning. So as I said, we coordinate at the moment 4 national action plans to promote gender equality and fight violence against women. There's the National Action Plan on Gender Equality and Non-Discrimination that includes LGBTI rights. There's the National Action Plan to prevent and fight domestic violence and gender-based violence, where the Program of Action to eliminate FGM is included. There's the National Action Plan to fight and prevent trafficking in human beings, and we know that women are particularly targeted, and young girls. And there's the National Action Plan regarding women, peace, and security, which is also a commitment under the UN. It's a Security Council's Resolution 1325 on women, peace, and security. So we also coordinate this National Action Plan. And as they are about to finish now in 2017, we are in the process of thinking with civil society, with academia, and 4 consultation sessions will take place next week, Monday and Tuesday, involving all these stakeholders, because we want to think together the next strategies, the next plan, but we're also doing it with a twofold concern. We need that all these parallel plans to work together. Again, we don't want things to fall into the grids, in the lines between the plans. So we are developing an umbrella strategy, and we would like this to be a longer-term strategy. And hopefully, this is something we will be debating with the stakeholders. It could follow the 2030 agenda for sustainable development objectives, or SDGs, yes. And so the new strategy will encompass all these objectives of these current plans, and also making sure that all the relevant SDGs are included in this new strategy. So this is something that I would like to share with you, and hopefully if you have some questions or suggestions, I will write them down and bring them already for next Monday and Tuesday's discussions. Thank you so much.
But just before we start questions, I would like usually first to ask Elsa if you can speak a little bit about the experience of the Edge Girls, and even if
but I think that it's better that Fatou can explain a little bit the project, because the majority of the project is in Guinea-Bissau, is in Bissau, namely, and the link with the diaspora is something that it's one of the main issues of the project. And then I have also one question, but first of all.
Ok, tá bom. Tá bom. Boa tarde, eu felicito primeiro as oradoras, também para cumprimentar. Donc, bonjour. Moi, je pense que, premièrement, pour féliciter les deux orateurs qui sont devant nous, pour dire qu'en matière de réponse institutionnelle vers le combat MGF au Portugal, au niveau institutionnel, si Portugal a fait quelque chose, c'est plutôt au niveau institutionnel. Parce que là où on est aujourd'hui, c'est une université qui nous invite pour cette séminaire, qui c'est une institution de l'État portugais qui le fait. Mais pour dire que moi, depuis les années 2005-2006, que j'ai commencé à prendre part, à assister beaucoup de rencontres de ce genre, mais toujours avec l'initiative du gouvernement du Portugal. Donc, elles ont expliqué ce qui est en train d'être fait au niveau de la santé, mais aussi au niveau des autres institutions. Teresa de la SIG a fait une explication en général de ce que le gouvernement en tant que tel est en train de faire, ce qui a été fait. Mais je peux ajouter que dans ça aussi, par exemple, à part tout ce qu'elle a expliqué, les activités d'information et sensibilisation qui a été fait, surtout entre Portugal et Guinée-Bissau, mais que cette année, pour la première fois, je crois, on a un fonds, le gouvernement portugais a mis en place un fonds pour réalisation des activités au niveau de la Guinée-Bissau et au niveau de la diaspora. C'est vrai que plusieurs des activités seront réalisées au niveau du pays. Ces activités sont encadrées dans le domaine des formations des leaders religieux islamiques, des techniciens de la santé, mais aussi des groupes de femmes, des leaders de la jeunesse, les journalistes et tout un groupe qui, on pense que se sont incorporés et qui prennent part dans cette lutte de l'abandon de la pratique de mutilation génitale féminine. Mais aussi dans le projet, c'est prévu des visites à des communautés bissau-guinéennes au niveau des diasporas. Concrètement ici au niveau de Portugal, ce qu'on va déjà initier à faire à partir du 8 octobre, parce qu'on l'avait déjà fait en 2015, on a parcouru certains quartiers ici de Lisbon, surtout les quartiers où est habité majoritairement pour des groupes islamistes de la Guinée-Bissau. On a visité des mosquées, on a parlé avec des femmes, on a parlé avec des jeunes, on a visité des écoles. Et je pense que maintenant qu'on a tous ces aspects au niveau du Portugal, au niveau matériel aussi, on a des instruments qu'on peut utiliser. Je pense que c'est nécessaire. Il y a une post-graduation, comme vous le savez, sur MGF au niveau de la santé qui a déjà commencé depuis des années. Je pense qu'en ce moment, ce qui est nécessaire, comme vous le savez, on l'a déjà dit, l'expérience nous a montré qu'une des meilleures formes de combattre la pratique de mutilation génitale, c'est éduquer la mère. La mère, ce sont les jeunes filles, la mère de demain, ce sont les jeunes filles d'aujourd'hui. C'est pour cela qu'il est nécessaire d'aller vers les écoles. À des universités, c'est bon qu'on aille vers les universités, mais il faut qu'on arrive à toucher le groupe de communautés. Parce que beaucoup de choses sont en train d'être faites au Portugal, mais la seule grande difficulté qui reste, c'est d'arriver vers les communautés en tant que telles au niveau des quartiers là où ils sont. Si on trouve quand même une difficulté à arriver vers ces familles, mais peut-être qu'on peut arriver au niveau des universités, des écoles de formation, là où on peut trouver les jeunes, les filles et les garçons africains, surtout celles qui sont des communautés qui pratiquent l'excision, pour qu'on puisse commencer à leur parler dès aujourd'hui, pour éviter tout ce travail qu'on est en train de faire aujourd'hui, pour le faire encore demain. Je pense que eux-mêmes, les jeunes, peut-être à ce niveau, ils pourront quand même commencer à parler avec leurs parents. Mais il faut découvrir le chemin d'arriver vers les quartiers pour pouvoir parler avec des femmes, parler avec les leaders religieux qui sont par ici. Parce que quand on est venu ici en 2015, on a identifié certains leaders religieux qui nous a parlé et qui a dit que la pratique n'est pas une recommandation islamique et qui parlent déjà sur ça au niveau de leur mosquée. Donc, il faut trouver un moyen de quand même prendre ces leaders islamiques qui sont là pour les faire partager ces expériences avec des autres qui sont dans des autres coins et des autres quartiers au niveau du pays. Donc, c'est tout ce que je voudrais ajouter et de remercier vraiment le gouvernement portugais pour tout ce qu'ils sont en train de dire. Toutes les fois que je viens au Portugal, je remercie tout le monde parce que moi, je me dis, si ce n'est pas un aspect des droits humains, vous n'avez pas la pratique de mutilation génitale féminine. Si vous le parlez, si vous le combattez, vous travaillez pour son combat, c'est parce que vous pensez à droits humains, c'est parce que vous savez que les droits humains traversent les frontières. Donc c'est pour cela que vous êtes en train de faire ce travail. Je vous remercie infiniment Clara et toute son équipe, Ricardo, Martha et toute l'équipe de l'université qui a rejoindre et qui nous a invités pour venir partager un peu, gagner un peu d'expérience et partager aussi ce qu'on a avec vous. Je vous remercie. Merci.
And now I have a question. So it's my point. We know that during the last years, in Portugal, at least 100 health professionals have been training on FGM. I would like to know the follow-up of this. What are they doing? Because 196 cases, 100 health nurses with training, what are they doing? Because when we go to health centers, when we go to hospitals, when we talk with women, when we talk with community, there are few. I still have the contacts of just 4 nurses that's still working on this. The other ones, okay, they received the training, but what are they doing now? And I think that it's something that it's necessary to understand is the impact of this strong financial investment. Because what are they doing now? Where are they? In which way these investments of the training on health professionals guarantee better results, better access to health to women and families affected by FGM?
You want to collect 2 or 3 and then 2 or 3 questions? Não quero recolher mais 2 ou 3 questões para irmos depois.
Other questions?
Je me permets de parler en français, parce que je maîtrise quand même beaucoup mieux le français. Je viens de Suisse, je travaille pour le système d'asile en Suisse. Et donc je suis venue plutôt pour avoir plus d'informations sur la situation dans les pays africains, vu que c'est les pays sur lesquels je travaille. En fait, je voulais juste plutôt faire un commentaire. J'ai entendu beaucoup pendant ces jours qu'il fallait surtout éduquer les mères, vu que c'est les mères qui ont quand même un très grand impact sur leurs filles et sur les MGF sur leurs filles. D'un autre côté, j'ai aussi entendu Monsieur Barry qui disait que c'est le père qui est le seul qui peut s'opposer. Donc, enfin, en tout cas en Guinée et Conakry, je ne sais pas si c'est peut-être différent dans d'autres pays. Donc, en fait, je me demandais s'il y avait aussi des programmes ciblés sur les jeunes hommes qui seront des pères et qui auront peut-être la possibilité plus tard de s'opposer.
Oui, moi je pense que quand on parle des écoles, on parle des universités, je pense qu'on parle des jeunes filles et des jeunes garçons. C'est eux qui seront demain les pères et les mères de demain. C'est pour ça qu'on dit si on les éduque aujourd'hui, demain ils seront en condition de protéger leur famille. On sait que traditionnellement, surtout dans les groupes qui pratiquent, les MGF, les groupes comme les groupes Paul, les groupes Manding, je parle de la Guinée-Bissau, et les Biafada et autres, les responsables de la famille, ce sont les hommes. Et ce que les hommes disent, c'est ça qui est fait dans la maison. Mais moi, je me dis, comme on est en train toujours de parler de genre, d'éduquer au niveau de genre, il faut faire que nos femmes aussi soient autonomes, soient capables. Parce que si moi, je me suis mariée avec un homme qui pense qu'il va, tout ce qu'il va dire, c'est ça qui va se passer à la maison, peut-être si je ne veux pas de problème, je vais accepter, mais je ne le ferai pas. Avant qu'il y ait une législation, avant qu'il y ait une loi, on disait aux femmes, si vous voulez exciser vos filles, comment est-ce que vous allez faire? Acheter le gueuil, piquer 1-2 fois seulement, et c'est fini, le sang va sortir, c'est fini. Les pères ne vont même pas savoir si vous avez fait ou pas. Donc pour montrer qu'il y a toute une importance d'éduquer la femme aussi en tant que mère. Il faut qu'elle, en tant que mère, il faut que c'est la femme, même si l'homme veut faire la pratique, mais c'est la femme qui amène la fille pour aller le soumettre à la pratique. Donc il faut qu'on éduque parce que, comme on le disait, c'est une pratique où tout le monde devrait donner son contribution. C'est vrai que la contribution des hommes, c'est important, mais je continue toujours à dire, pour ne pas mettre seulement la pression sur les hommes et laisser tomber les femmes, parce que pour moi, les femmes continuent à jouer le rôle pour les hommes. Ce sont eux qui sont les exciseuses. Ce sont eux qui sont les grands-mères, ce sont eux qui sont la mère et la tante et tout. Donc, il faut qu'on les rencontre aux universités, aux écoles de formation supérieure, parce qu'on est en train d'éduquer pour combattre la pratique dans la prochaine génération. Et la prochaine génération sont qui? Sont les jeunes filles qui sont au niveau des écoles en ce moment. C'est pour cela qu'on devrait les éduquer à tous. Merci.
I'm sorry, I don't know exactly if someone has already asked for this. I had to go out for a moment. But I would like to know something more about SPD, the system of data collection, and how do women get signaled as people that should enter that system? And if the system and the professionals take into account regional variations in the countries of origin, since there are some countries where there are regions with 90% and other regions with 2%, so signaling women from countries at risk, as we call them, and not taking into account variations can be a problem. If that is taken into account, this level of detail. And if there is an intention of authorities, for example, to try to start collecting data on ethnicity, which is also coming alongside some demands on Afro-descendants, for example, that have been trying to, through activism, to state a case for the collection of data in the census of, I think in census in 2020 there will be something about that already. And how do you plan to use this in conjunction with female genital mutilation? If that's something that the health direction is already considering or not. And another question would be, you're not listening? You're making such faces and I think you're not listening to me.
No, I didn't understand which
The question itself.
I can give you an example. Senegal, which is something that concerns me personally, is a country at risk. My wife is from Senegal. She is living here. So she goes to a consultation in a health center. She should be targeted. But she hasn't done female genital mutilation. And to make a consultation or ask her, it's an invasion of privacy. So if you take into consideration regional variations in Senegal, you would know that she shouldn't be targeted. I want to know if the system goes to this level of detail, understanding the cases of the people that are in face of them. Because this is important, okay? Another question is, instead of doing training for loads of people and lots of institutions and all that, wouldn't be more effective to have one in the great area of Lisbon, one specific hospital, one specific clinic, just with a high level of expertise in female genital mutilation, with professionals that know very well the practice, that know how to treat the cases, and which are the reference in the city. Because in this way, I'm just saying scattered knowledge all around. And when you make your rotation system inside the health departments, then you have to, as the president for the commission said, you have to renew expertise because expertise is going away. So this is kind of losing resources and not concentrating them. So I think for a practice as female genital mutilation, it would be nice to have a reference in Lisbon. I don't know, a health center in Odivelas or a hospital in Amadora. You know, something that all cases could be referred to that place. Like when you go to your traveler's consultation, you go to 2 or 3 places in the city. Why not create a system that goes alongside those lines?
It happens, it was because of this platform, because if I'm a doctor in the health center, I need to register the information about the women or the girl with FGM. But if in the morning I'm a doctor in the health center, in the afternoon I have my private consultation, and it's not, I don't have access to this platform. So I'd like to know if what kind of law or regulation we have, because the same doctor, as it's obligatory to include in the morning, in the afternoon. Now it remembers me a little bit the issue of abortion some years ago in Portugal. The doctors in private do abortion, but in the hospitals they don't do because they are other things. And I would like to understand a little bit more this issue also.
Maybe can we just take it?
Well, thank you for the questions. I don't know if I have answers, but I can think aloud and think with you. And well, I think the first question had to do with where are the health professionals that were trained. Well, they are in the health centers, in the hospitals. Some of them are still working in these subjects and doing some actions in their working places, like sensibilizing all other professionals, and some are working in the communities. By the end of this year, we will hopefully have a better answer to this question. We are asking, well, the professionals don't work for the Directorate-General of Health. They work for the regional health administration services. So we have to ask to these services what is going on concerning health issues, concerning the practice. So we hopefully by the end of the year we will have a better answer to the question. We know, as Teresa said, we have also a lot of professionals that go from one place to other place. We know that the health system in some places it's more possible to work with the communities and have special units to work with the communities. In other places it's not that easy, but in answering to the questions you made on my ear, the the health professionals are nurses, psychologists, social workers, medical doctors. Very few medical doctors. It's much easier to get out of the service or to let go of the working place for nurses and psychologists and social workers, what we asked, and again we asked for the regional administration. What we asked was that they would belong to or would be involved in the family planning services or the maternal services, either in the primary care, or they belong to the I don't know exactly the translation in English, but it's called the support group for children at risk that exists in all hospitals and in all health centers, and that these were the professionals that would get this training. Yes, I think the most important is the person in front of them, always. Of course, it's important to register, but the most important thing is the person in front of everybody. And so that maybe is one part that is actually difficult to address the issue and to address the issue correctly, and that's what we expect the health professionals gained from these training courses also, is in their counseling, in their approach to women, so they can have this, they practice, they do this on their practice. So in the data platform, there are countries, yes, and there are no regional specification, no, as there are no ethnicities, yes, for the countries, so it's not specified, no.
So maybe I'll follow up from this and then go back to the professionals on the post-graduation. One prior thought, because we are the Commission for Citizenship and Gender Equality, we are in the process of thinking and starting the design of new plans. Next Monday and Tuesday, we have not included the topic on harmful practices. So there will be a meeting later on, a session, an open session to have this consultation with stakeholders. So maybe we can coordinate, and you can help us by giving us names of relevant stakeholders that were interested at this conference, that we could also invite to think along with us what the follow-up of the current program of action should be. So this is a prior note, because there's always room for more information and for more thinking. We don't have, we are not under the impression that we know it all. So we want to learn from other people who think about this topic. So this is the prior note. Another note, and this is just something that I thought as you were talking, I was not involved in the design of the platform. This is something that is under the Ministry of Health. And for us, from a public policy perspective, we need data. We need data to understand the reality. Maybe it's not so important at this stage to specify regions or ethnicities, but maybe it's important that after we have a certain trend and we understand how many women from a particular country, where are they residing, maybe we start to pinpointing areas in the territory that need a particular look. And maybe then we can design a cooperation with a particular local municipality if we realize through a health center that they, in that region, identified 3, 4, 5 cases from Senegal, from Guinea, from other countries. So maybe we're not at the stage of very specific information. We are not going to ask this person, are you from this region, are you from that? This is not an inquiry. This is more that if in a session, in the process of a session, something is identified, then we want to understand it a bit better. We want to know that in this region there are people from an area that there is a risk or something has already happened, and collecting data is important to establish patterns and then to help us better design policies to respond to the identified situations. So this is something I was thinking. And on the other hand, when you said maybe it's better if we have specialized clinics, maybe. So this is something we need to think about, and how do we do that? But on the other hand, it's not the same as the traveler's consultation, because female genital mutilation is a sensitive issue and is a taboo. People do not talk about it. Oh, let me go to the specialized consultation because I was mutilated. So it's not so easy. It's not so easy as, oh, I'm going to Guinea-Bissau in November, I need to go to the traveler's consultation for vaccination. It's different. But we do need to have people in the health centers, in the traveler's consultations, aware and as trained as possible to help us identify and to have a first-hand prevention behavior with these families. This has happened already in travelers' consultation. A girl was going with the parents to Guinea-Bissau, and red flags were all over the place. And there was a follow-up consultation. And when the family came back, there was a follow-up came back from the country where they were visiting. So this is important, that you have health professionals and other social protection professionals aware in various parts of the country, and in particular in the areas that we identify that there are communities residing there coming from cultures, from countries where the practice is a risk. We need to have these people aware and able to identify, because what happens, and this is not in a specialized clinic, this is on the day-to-day health services, because a specialized clinic is important when people want to address the issue. But the problem is that most of the times people are not addressing the issue, and if the professionals are not aware, the issue will go under the radar, as it usually goes. So we wanted to bring it on the radar. We want to know where, with whom. This is why we need professionals spread it in the health system, and we need this platform to start understanding the reality, the trends, the prevalence. On the other hand, going to Elise's question, these are just my thoughts. Again, I would like to have your inputs on names of people that we should invite to this open consultation for the next plan of action. Talking a bit on the where are these people that were trained in this post-graduation. So most of the people, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me because I'm not directly involved with the post-graduation, the implementation of the post-graduation, but I believe that most of the people that go, they have an interest, a personal interest, because they work in a particular health center where they identified issues, because they've heard about it and this is something of their concern. It's not that the state or the school, the nursing school providing the post-graduation goes and, oh, I go into this health center and this is the people I want. It's not like that. It's not targeted. It's not a mandatory training. It's not. So right now we have people who have an interest. Am I mistaken? Okay, so people attend the post-graduation because they have a particular interest for various reasons. But of course, we need to capitalize on this because there is public investment in these trainings, and this is an asset, and we invest on the training of these people. So where are they? this is an ongoing, this is work in progress. This is work in progress. There is, under the program, there is a measure that has not been accomplished yet, but it is foreseen, a measure, to have some sort of a database of people. We need to also a pattern. We need to understand where are these people working now, what are their professions, how can we use them. So once we have this mapped, maybe in this next plan, we can have a strategy to say, okay, so if I have social service workers working in particular local municipalities, what can they do by using the knowledge of this post-graduation? If I have health professionals working in particular health centers or hospitals, how can I use them in the area where they work? What kind of connections, networks can they do with the local municipality and with the health center? So we need to map the characteristics of these people. 120 professionals have already undergone 3 post-graduations. 4, this is the one, okay, 4. So we need to have a database, not public from the beginning, also because we have all these data protection laws, but we need to, but internally, as a public institution, we have the data of these people, and we can, for the sake of our strategy, we can use these data. Then how, and if it should become public is a different aspect. But there are these people, they have training, there was investment, public investment, so we need a strategy. But as I said, this is work in progress. The first program of action was approved in 2009. This is not a topic that everybody tags along and let's all do this. It's a very sensitive topic. And not everybody is interested in it, so we need to, how do you say? We go in stages and we need to bring people on board. So we need to go step by step. And I believe that after 8 years, we have accomplished a lot, but we are clear that it's not even halfway through. So these conferences are very important. And again, all these recommendations, even the recommendations that come up or the thoughts from this conference will be very useful to, as food for thought in our consultation that will take place within the month of October. I just wanted to say 2 more comments. When I didn't get your name from Switzerland, Sabine, when you were mentioning about, yes, educating the mothers, but where are the fathers, other leaders, religious leaders? I know Fatoumata already replied to that. But for me, of course, education, and you educate the future mothers and fathers. I just wanted to highlight 2 things. Yes, always target the mothers and the women, because we need to empower the women, and we need to give them voice. As their children, hopefully not mutilated, but at all stages, we need to empower and give them space, give them voice, and hear them. So, because they're usually the ones that don't have space to voice their concerns. You were talking about the fathers and the leaders. Of course, we need, and this is something that we are targeting in our program of action, we need to involve the community, and the community is not only the mothers, the community, everybody in the community. So, and I know that in some of these, we were talking with, what was her name from Muskeba? Khadija. She was saying that they had groups working with men in the community and raising men's awareness of what's going on. It wasn't even an issue for them. They're men. It doesn't go on in their bodies. So they had groups of men discussing the topic. So, of course, we need to target everybody in the community. And, of course, we need to target the leaders and the religious leaders, because maybe talking to the mothers, the fathers, adults, children, the religious leaders have a lot of impact, of course, even if we don't consider the practice a religious practice, but the religious leaders are leaders and they have an impact. So I wouldn't say either or. You need to target everybody, but I would highlight definitely the women in all ages and stages, because they're the ones who are always disempowered and invisible. So, and this is happening in their bodies. And yeah, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's another question,
if I may.
yeah. Any other? So, okay, just two last. Wait,
I will be very brief. I just would like to share with you a good practice actually from my home country, the Netherlands. What our ministries did was that they developed a statement on FGM, which included on the front of the page an explanation why FGM was a criminal offense in the Netherlands, the harmful consequences and so forth and so on. And on the back, it had the signatories of all different ministries involved, as well as the most important NGOs in the Netherlands working on the issue of FGM. And it had all their signatures. And then on the bottom, parents could put their signature as well. And this tiny, small form was given to parents, for example, in hospitals, in health centers, but also at NGOs, at wherever people who were at risk or girls were at risk were present. And since I work closely together with many Somali organizations in the Netherlands, because FGM in Somalia is of course a big problem, and we have a big Somali immigrant community in the Netherlands, this proved to work very well. Because Somali parents, they felt empowered because they could show when they were going abroad during the holidays, they could show their family members who were maybe going to take their children, look, here are the signatures of all the ministries. In the Netherlands, FGM is criminalized, it's a criminal offense, and if I come back to the Netherlands having my daughter circumcised, I go to jail. Look, it's written here. So if you want, I can send you this document. It's in different languages, and it proved, it was actually something that we just wanted to try. We didn't know whether it worked, but now after it is there for 3 years, it proved to work really well. So it might be an idea for other countries as well. Thank you.
I just want to make one slight precision. I was not advocating against informing everyone, because this is actually the purpose of our current project that allowed for this conference. We have been forming future professionals. We have already done almost 400 or 350, I think, Marta? 350 or something. From social work to medicine to psychology, anthropology. So yes, we are disseminating knowledge on FGM and trying that future professionals actually know more about the practice. And you are totally right. We have to map very carefully what are the communities, where are the cases, but also map who are the professionals knowing about it, as you said. And still, the specialized clinic for me would be just a reference, and I'm not comparing to the traveler's consultation. I'm just saying that the system was able to create something for a specific need, which is traveling to countries where epidemiology is different, and you have to take into consideration all these questions of public health. So the system could also respond to a specific need of a specific population and have a clinic specialized. It could be a second phase. Yeah, I know, you agreed. But it could be a second phase, not the first phase, which is having a wider, but it could be a second phase. So I just wanted to precise that, not... Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you everyone. And just before you go, I know you are willing, I just would like to ask you two things. The second one is that you stay for another 2 minutes. And the first one, of course, is join me thanking our invitees for coming this afternoon. would like to ask Magali to come. So,
everybody is tired, so make it short.
no, just to finish. Okay, so we are going to end this conference. As I've told you in the first day, this is a conference from a Daphne project funded by the European Commission, from which the main activities have been and are so far the training of university students. We have so far trained more than 300 students just here in Portugal, but of course our partners have done the same in Barcelona, Madrid, in Rome, and in Brussels. Another aspect of this project are the multisectoral guide and also the result from this conference. This is the third one. There is going to be a fourth one on the 24th and 25th of November in Rome. If you are willing to come, you are really welcome. All of that is on the internet, so you'll have a quick access to it. I'll give the word to Magali Thiel, who is the great project manager of the entire project.
Thank you very much, Clara. I know that everybody is quite tired, so I'll be very, very brief. Just to remind those who didn't catch it that, as Clara has mentioned, we are publishing the papers of every seminar. This is very important because when we are talking about inserting FGMC within the contents of the different curricula of the different professional or future professionals that will be in touch with victims or girls and women at risk. It's important also to develop knowledge, to develop academic fields of thinking and multidisciplinary research. So just to encourage you to download or to take this book if you didn't catch it already. This one was the first seminar, which was on the social, cultural, and legal aspects. But soon we will have the papers of the Brussels seminar that was on research methodology, qualitative, quantitative, and mixed research methodology. And this seminar will also be, the papers and the contribution will be published. So I encourage all the speakers to send their publication, their papers, and of course, if you can contribute to dissemination, it's as we have seen, it's very important to train future professionals. We are in this. It's a great pleasure to do it with all our partners who are here, and thank you very much for your contribution, your critical contribution from the public, and hope to see you soon again, and if not, on the Twitter, on the webpage, and to remind you that the video has been launched today on taking advantage of the European Nights of Researchers.
So let me just thank at the end our wonderful volunteers, Sara, Portugal, Rita, who already left, Ana Amorim, Marta Cardoso, and of course, our wonderful researchers at the project, that is Marta Patricio and Ricardo Falcão. And please join me greeting them warmly, and particularly Ricardo, because it is his birthday. And thank you.